Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Moving on to item 2, are there any non-agendized comments from the public? Seeing none, moving on to item 3, are there any corrections to the agenda or consent calendar? Okay. Do we have a motion to adopt the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion.
I second that. We have a motion and a second. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, nothing was brought forward. Moving on to item 6A, purchase of food truck. Is that you, Cliff? All right. Sometimes you do the switcheroo.
Yeah, I try to make it all the time. So anyway, what we're asking for here is I need to replace 2 trucks. We replace 1 truck and add 1 truck. The bucket truck and the truck that I'm replacing are both in the electrical department. The one I'm replacing is early 97, 1 ton. We've been patching it up for several years to get it by. It's time to go. The bucket truck, that's going to be a new one. What that is like what the power companies and the cable companies use to access the lines on the power poles and such. We don't necessarily have lines on the power poles, but we have several antennas, a lot of them on tanks, a lot of instrumentation on top of tanks. And the only access to them at this time is through a ladder that's in the cage. And it's very cumbersome to get your tools, your equipment, and go up and down this ladder that, 40, 50 feet tall several times just to complete one thing, with a bucket truck be able to access it easily and have everything in it. So, anyway, the 2 quotes, these are both for the source well. The utility bed and the 1 ton would be $97,000, and then I believe it was $210 for the other one. And these were the lowest ones at a source well I could find. So what I'm asking is to approve, find the bids or the quotes acceptable and go out and purchase them.
Great. Any questions from the board?
Just have a quick question. What are you going to do with the 97 truck?
Surplus it.
Yeah. You interested?
Interested?
No.
For one time.
I mean, maybe, actually.
I have to have a good truck.
Well, yeah. No, I was just curious, yeah.
No, that one will go out to surplus and it will be sold. A lot of the trucks I haven't been selling, they've just been absorbed back into the fleet for seasonal employees and expanded personnel we have.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Especially with what you're going to get.
They just don't get used as much, and so they fill in really well.
Yeah. I mean, what is the 97 truck? This is not really applicable. I'm just curious. Do you know what's that truck like that go for?
When the shape that one's in and what it is, I would imagine we'll see between 10 to 15,000 out of it on the open market. Also, we'll be having the backhoe that'll be going in the near future.
And also appreciate your reference to electric vehicles. Assume they weren't there, but you appreciate the reference to make.
I'm keeping my eyes open. There's a huge gap between a half-ton 4-door and the medium duties, and most of the medium duties are all box trucks for last mile deliveries, or a flatbed or something of that nature. But they still they're not making any work trucks, just a, solid 2-door regular cab work truck. So, I'm working.
Nick, you got anything?
Nothing from me.
So I guess I just have a couple. The bucket truck, so I'm assuming it's going to improve safety and
Yes.
for our staff, right? Great. Maybe improve our efficiency of getting it down, it sounds like.
Yes, it's very difficult in winter, when we have the big storms and such, we gotta get on top of these tanks. There's not really any place to tie off to on top of these tanks. They're very slippery. There's no, traction, it's just the paint and everything. With the bucket truck being in the bucket, they can go up to where everything is and pretty much stay in the bucket itself to work and do their work.
Great. Nothing else? What would you like us to consider?
I'd like to consider that these bids are, will meet the specifications of these trucks and the district, and approve purchase of 197, or, what that, 2005, 110 single axle, utility box truck, and one, 2-ton dual axle bucket truck. Does he have to read the resolution? Okay.
You have the motion in front of you?
No, I don't.
Would you like me to do that?
Would you do that, please?
Okay. This is asking the board to authorize the purchase of one bucket lift truck and one Ford F-350 utility bed truck through the National Auto Fleet Group competitively bid Sourcewell contract number 091521-NAF in an amount not to exceed $309,000, including tax and delivery fees. So moved.
My second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Great. I'm hoping you guys can get additional use out of the bucket truck beyond
It's going to get a lot of use. I imagine IT will be using it.
Yeah, it seems like more technology.
It's very useful for radio equipment. Even the street lights we do around here. So, thank you.
All right, Melanie, thank you.
Real quick before we move on, I just wanted to say something about Aqua and the unavailability of many of these electric trucks that the Air Resource Control Board has referred to. Aqua's been doing a really good job of delivering the message of utilities like ours to the Air Resource Control Board when it comes to trying to meet these requirements. And they've been inviting members of the Resource Control Board to some of the Aqua's membership agencies, and they've actually been going on like tours of them to all the different work zones that they have to go to complete their maintenance and so forth. And they've been able to see how challenging it is. And one of the biggest concerns that some of these agencies have that have topography issues is the additional weight associated with these vehicles, and I'm assuming that's just because the battery powered. And so they've been working really hard, and the Resource Control Board seems to be receptive to the comments. What that may or may need in the future, I don't know, but hopefully at some point the availability of these electric vehicles will become more usable for us.
Are we limited to Sourcewell to go to? Is that a good?
Not limited, but that's a competitively bid contract, and it keeps us from having to issue like bids out and try to submit it to several dealerships.
Yeah.
And they seem to have their finger on the pulse, though, of the lowest cost.
No, I just remember maybe a year or 2 years ago just cruising the California Energy Commission's website, and they oftentimes have these programs for larger size vehicles, and I'm not sure if we're looking into those things as well. But
Yeah.
no grants, too, so it's like you're trying to get them unloaded. Great, thank you. Okay, moving on to item 6B, sewer line spot repair and lateral abandonment services. Richard. Oh,
He bailed on me. I found out yesterday afternoon.
Good afternoon. Sewer line spot repair and lateral abandonment services. On the consent calendar, you guys just ended one of our contracts a few minutes ago, and I'm here today to ask if we can go out to bid again to do another round. Every year, the sewer department, when they're out cameraing, TVing sewer lines and stuff, we run across laterals that we can abandon. We run into, broken pipes, cracks, things like that, where normally you have to go and dig them up with a crew, backhoe, all that. Where with the spot repair, I'm sure you guys are familiar, that you're able just to go in and put a liner, 2-foot liner in, and normally seals them up. and prevents us from having to go dig up each and every one. CTC also has lots throughout all of our service area, county and city, and they provide us roughly $25,000 a year to go through and abandon their laterals to their empty lots that are never going to be built on, which in turn helps with the I&I, things like that. So, basically, that's pretty much it. Just here to ask if we can go out to bid again, and we're working on a list, and it saves us big time money, I believe, instead of having to dig up each one.
Just a quick question, is it like a 3-year, like the last one? What's the term?
It's a 1 year.
It's a 1 year.
Yes, we talked about extending it, but I haven't had great luck when I extend the contract on some occasions, so I'm a little gun shy. But it's not a big ordeal to go out each year.
Okay.
You know, and we talked about looking into a couple-year project, you know.
And then, what was the contract amount of the other one? Just to kind of get a ballpark.
The one you just
See that in the staff report. I didn't see the year. I mean, I guess it's just a 1 year.
well, this one that I have today is $181,000.
181. So it's in that.
The one that just closed out, the contract value is $129,600, but they gave us a credit of $58,375. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So there's like a budgeted amount, and it's kind of like an on-call service.
No, whenever they come through town, they stop, and this last go-around, Ivy was saying that they did about 52 jobs in almost 2 weeks.
Okay.
So they're real good, they take care of us, and we get a lot accomplished for, like I said, less money than having to go up and dig up each one and repair a section.
Is there any reason why you might be going bigger on the budget with this one as opposed to the last one?
Well, it also includes the $25,000 from the CTC. So then that would bring it down to, what, 160?
Oh, I see. Okay. So we're going to be taking care of some of their...
Everything's gone up.
Yeah.
You know, everything we buy, you know, for instance, we were just talking today about a new pump for Luther Pass. In 2020, we bought one, and I think it was around $300,000-400,000. They are up now around $650,000. So everything's just increased.
Mm-hmm. Great. So it's good to know that CTC is going to kick in. And so this is mostly related to one of the urban parcels and dealing with some of their laterals.
CTC and Forest Service, yes. Well, CTC gives us money, Forest Service.
Forest Service does not. Okay.
But it does in the end, it helps them, but it also helps us with I&I, things like that.
Yeah.
And not to mention the stuff that we find where there's a cracked pipe or a lateral, you know, to a lot that, you know, we can abandon. It's no longer in use, things like that.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Great. What would you like us to consider?
Authorize staff to advertise for construction bids for the sewer line spot repair and lateral abandonment services contract.
A motion?
I'll second. Thank you, Chris. Or should I call you Richard? Okay, moving on to item 6C, ordinance amending the terms of the low-income customer assistance program. Ryan.
Good afternoon. Yes, today I've bring to you an ordinance. So we have discussed this a couple times with the board recently. So this ordinance is coming from the last board meeting on July 17th, where before that meeting we had met with the Finance Committee. So the recommendations of the Finance Committee we discussed a little bit at the board meeting on July 17th, and those are the recommendations that are coming to you today in this ordinance, and in the recommendation to approve an ongoing annual budget for the customer assistance program. So we've talked kind of at length
about this, and we had a really in-depth and a good conversation with the Finance Committee at the last board meeting, where we talked through a lot of different options and different directions that we could take the program. And we had talked, I think I had given you a little bit of a summary last time, that we talked about expanding it to include an age-based senior citizen program, but the Finance Committee didn't really like that. The board wasn't really comfortable with that. So I think this is where we landed, is in looking at the current enrollment numbers and the current cost of the program. Right now, the budget is about $190,000 a year, and so the recommendation was to put an initial budget cap for Tier 1 of the program. Again, that is the 25% discount for people on Liberty's CARE program, at $285,000 annually. So that does give it some room to grow, and we can go ahead and do that targeted outreach to some of those customers that we know are on Liberty's list and not enrolled in our program. But it does give us kind of an initial funding limit to start with. And then we looked at decreasing, so currently the board has established a Tier 2 budget of $50,000. We're looking at reducing that due to the low utilization of the program, while also expanding the eligibility so that more people at higher income levels will qualify. And that's a little bit of a trial. So we've got $10,000. That would cover about 50 accounts enrolled in Tier 2. Currently, we have 13. And then again, in Tier 1, currently we have about 475 customers enrolled in that. This budget would allow for something around 750. So we have a little bit of room to grow here, and what we talked about is that as we kind of try these new numbers out, I will keep the board informed on what our enrollment looks like, whether this seems like the right budget, the right qualifications, and you always have the opportunity to change that. So the board can set that budget or amend it at any time. And so I think this is a good kind of first step that gives us some guidance as we do this outreach and keeps the program in the control of the board as it grows. So we can kind of see where it goes, but I will absolutely keep you informed as we go along. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
No, I would just say, reiterating what Ryan had said, obviously it was discussed in finance, we communicated about it. I think, Kelly and I probably both agreed kind of with everything outlined here. I thought it was a really positive process. I think it was great that FCPUD led the example in the Tahoe Basin, leading to TCPUD and NTPUD following suit. I think it's a really powerful effort. And then looking at how we're financing it compared to them, I think we're comfortable in that regard as well. So no, completely supportive. Finance community was supportive as well.
I just had a question in terms of how we might be able to move money between the two tiers. Let's say Tier 1 is underperforming and Tier 2 is overperforming. Is there a way to kind of move money around, or is that something that has to come up to the board? Or?
You can move it around.
Okay.
Whereas part of the funding for that tiers, we're going to move around as well.
Okay. Great. And then I just want to thank the Finance Committee and staff for kind of working it through first before bringing it to us. I appreciate that. I think that's the way to go. So thank you.
Yeah, great work. Look forward to the tracking of it and just kind of monitoring it to see how we can make an impact in the community. So that's great. Maybe even just putting it in the Paul's report monthly or quarterly or something would be easy way to do it. Just you can work on that. But great work digging into this and come up with a solution.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks. I think this is a good program for our customers. They appreciate it. I appreciate the support of the board for the program over the years. Just a quick note, so the ordinance, the only change is the expanded eligibility for Tier 2, and then you'll approve the budgets. Okay, would you like me to read the...
Just one quick thing, I think, do appreciate the kind of updates as you begin that targeted outreach, especially if you're doing the small segments to see, what kind of percentage feedback you're getting to the budgets are kind of like we talked about in finance. And then I think just more broadly, all those would be targeted, just, let the community know we're doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's an important thing, it's a positive thing, it gets the word out there, but, inform the community, how we're interacting and looking to help people out. So, as we're raising rates and all these other things, I think it's important to keep this messaging going forward. So just wanted to make that note.
Yeah, thank you. And that was our plan, is to do another push of outreach once we just wanted to make sure that we get a budget in place, if that's what the board wanted, before we market it.
Beyond just, there's the individuals you'll be marketing to utilize, right, the program. I'm just saying more of a holistic kind of messaging, like, we would do with something else, to just let people that, won't be participating in the program that this is
clear it's in existence and, again, how that PUD is working with the community. So kind of just, it's more community-wide now, and I think would be a positive thing.
Yeah, great, we can absolutely do that.
And I would echo that too. I appreciate, just people having an awareness of it. I'm sure it's going to be on our website and wherever else we can put it out there. That's good. Okay, what would you like us to consider?
Okay, staff is recommending that the board, or requesting that the board, number one, adopt ordinance number 596-25, an ordinance of the South Tahoe Public Utility District, amending Administrative Code Section 6.1.9 regarding the Low-Income Customer Assistance Program, and two, approve an ongoing annual budget of $285,000 for Tier 1 and $10,000 for Tier 2 of the Low-Income Customer Assistance Program.
I'll move to approve.
A second that? We have a motion.
All right, I'm going to pick it back up for item, oh wait, I got to wait for that. Sorry. Sorry. 16, sorry about that. Liability claims against South Lake Tahoe Public Utility District received from Robert Bailey.
Yes, the district received a liability claim from claimant Robert Bailey earlier this month, and this claim relates to some work that the district did in front of the claimant's property back in May of 2025 when we fixed a water leak that was in the street. So this was a leaking main line kind of in the street in front of the claimant's property, and then Alcon General Engineering, our patch paving contractor, came back in June and did the final permanent patch on that temporary patch that we had. So the claimant sent in a claim with photos alleging that during that work, the district and the paving contractor had damaged the curb in front of his property. So I worked with the JPIA, we sent this claim in, and during our review, the first thing I do with any of these claims is we get an incident report from our staff. Whoever was out there doing the work. So in this case, this was our underground water repair crew and Alcon. So we got incident reports from them, and their report stated that they did not damage the curb in front of his property, that the curb was extensively damaged when they arrived. So that was the incident report that I got from them. And then in our review of that, we did find some Google Street View images from one of them from 2012, one of them from 2024, so well before the district was out at this property doing work. And it does show that there was extensive pre-existing damage to that curb. So it looks much, in that 2024 image, it really looks much like it does in today in our photos and in the photos that the claimant submitted with his claim. So when we sent all of that to the JPIA, who's our liability insurance carrier, on those grounds, their recommendation was to reject this claim, basically that the damage appeared to be pre-existing in these Google Street View images, and that was corroborated by the incident reports from our staff, who reported that the work that they did, they actually went back out to look at the work. They found that the work that we did and the work that Alcon did was satisfactory up to the district standards. And I did reach out to the customer and let him know that this was the JPI's recommendation. This was last week, and I let him know that the board would be discussing this today, gave him the opportunity to, give me any information if he wanted to add to the claim or provide any supplementing information or photos or, more details on the damage that he was alleging. I have not heard from him. So the JPIA's recommendation is that the board reject this claim. And just a reminder, since we haven't had a liability claim that's come to the board for rejection recently, the board always has the final say on these. So the JPIA makes a recommendation, and then we need to have, if we're going to reject a claim, the board will have to do that. We then send the claimant a rejection letter, and the JPIA does as well. And the importance of this is that if we do this and then send that letter, there's a 6-month statute of limitations where the claimant can sue the district if they choose to. But if we do not reject the claim formally and send that letter, it's a 2-year statute. So the JPIA has really impressed upon us the importance of going through this process so that everything keeps moving. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah. So, Google Street View is a great tool, so utilizing that. I guess, was it alleged that it was in pristine condition, and then the results, as you can see in Street View, you see where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So it was all pretty straightforward as we outlined it.
Yeah, so the claim actually stated that, the curb was recently repaired and was damaged. Most of but not all of the damage is on the left side facing the house, so that's that side of the mailbox. That's actually the worst part of it, but that damage is shown in the 2012 image, so we didn't actually do a lot of work in front of that particular area. And so the claimant was requesting that the district replace the entire curb. And so it's, you know, we did, like I said, I reached out to him to ask for any details, and this would be a tough one. He did mention that there's some markings on the curb, and you can kind of see that in some of the photos, that it's a little bit of the black asphalt powder. And so these are something that our crew thought could just be hosed off, that it's not permanent damage. So there was a little bit of that. That's just kind of the debris from doing fresh paving there, and you can see a little bit of black dust on there. But they did not say that they worked anywhere on the curb, so our patch is kind of up against it. Another thing that he had mentioned is that he said the curb is now lifted above the grade of the driveway, which is kind of interesting. Like, there is a little bit of the asphalt patch is a little high, but we do that on purpose because it settles over time. And so that will settle down to grade. But the curb and the driveway, we didn't do any work around that area. And again, like, that's kind of visible in the picture from 2024 as well. We did explore that. And if it was the case that there was some minor damage, this would be a really tough claim because we'd kind of get into betterment, right? Like, obviously the district is not liable for replacing the whole curb, so there may be some kind of very minute cost sharing if we were going to go down that road.
It's pretty clear. I mean, I'm ready to roll.
Yeah. I was just wanted to get, what he was alleging clearly, but no, I agree with that. I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, just really quickly, like, we talked a little bit about this in agenda review, and a couple of things, you know, as we move to tablets and our crews get there, maybe there's an opportunity is SOP to take a shot, picture where we're going to dig, and we'll have that pre-construction review. And the other thing is, like, is this in the city or is this in the county?
It's in the city.
Okay, so I mean, I guess, technically it seems like the claimant would be the city, not the property owner. But anyway, I'll let you go ahead and read, what you want us to consider, and we'll move along.
Okay. Staff is requesting that the board reject the claim against Southtown Public Utility District for losses allegedly sustained by Robert Bailey.
So moved.
Nixon area. Okay, here we go. Moving on.
Motion passes unanimously.
After that, too fast. All right, moving on to item number 7. Are there any standing and ad hoc committee or liaison reports? We had nothing.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, we didn't, nothing happened. Any board member reports? Nick?
I'm not going to say it, we're just here now.
They have just submitted their franchise numbers with the city. They're seeking a permit next week. They're ready to dig the conduit out there. They may start that next week. The conduit on the property.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
So I attended CAFA, in San Diego, last week, so that was good. So I have all the stuff, basically, the presentations are good. I have the ones that I went to, I have the actual PowerPoints, if anyone's curious about the ones that I went to. I can pass those along. The big one that I saw was the AI, using that in ways that, you know, just to enhance our operation. Obviously, I'm sure that's being looked into, but there's some pretty good stuff in there on examples they did with that. The fire and emergency preparedness, they did a big thing about making sure that we're adding in cybersecurity attacks, as well as just climate issues, which I think we're already on the climate thing because obviously we're in the national forest here, but the cybersecurity adding was an interesting thing. I think we're doing some good stuff with that I've seen. And then we did get a commemorative 75-year of service plaque from them as well. So we were on the big, we had a big image, I guess, on the presentation playing during the luncheon for everyone there. So. No, not staying here. I don't need that. So, yeah, I have there's some other pieces there, but I won't take up time. If anybody's curious about any of it, let me know. I can pass them. Actually, there's another thing called Gate 5 that I'd be interested for you to look at. It's not a digester, but it's that kind of process. But doesn't require as much footprint. So, yep.
All right, anything? Nope. Okay, moving on to, items 9A, Engineering AmeriCorps Fellow update. Yeah. Not Thea. Lauren. Thea, sorry.
I just wanted to get up here before, Ellen Terry came up just to do a little introduction. So good afternoon, board members. One of them field water conservation specialist and also site supervisor for one of our amazing Civic Spark fellows. So I did want to introduce Ella Thompson. She's the water educator for the Public Affairs and Conservation Department, and Taylor Ragsdale, who is the GIS Asset Management Fellow for the Engineering Department. For the past 11 months, Ella and Taylor have served the district through the Civic Spark program. Civic Spark is an AmeriCorps program with the goal of increasing capacity in communities while gaining invaluable work experience. Although they encountered a brief vacation due to federal funding cuts, they did briefly return to finish their term with us. Both Ella and Taylor's term will finish on August 22nd, with Taylor returning for a second term, yay, and Ella is off to graduate school in London. So I'll pass it over to Ella and Taylor. Thanks so much. All right.
We are friendly.
I think I met some of you at the,
I'm grumpy, but what else is fine?
Noted. All right, my name is Ella Thompson. Thank you for the introduction. Hello, members of the board. Let's get started. All right. So today, Taylor will be highlighting the work we've done for the past 11 months. I'll start, Taylor will finish, and if there are any questions, there will be time at the end. All right, before we start, I'll give a little bit of background about who I am. I graduated from McAllister College in Minnesota in last year, but I'm originally from the Bay Area, and I began working at the district in September. All right, so over the course of my term, I focused on two main sub-projects. One was expanding the capacity to deliver water conservation services, and then second, promoting water-efficient practices through outreach, education, and community engagement. Today I will give you project highlights from both of these. I was not working at the DVR, but I did get to go down and hang out at the tractors. It was a very fun day, and I got to learn a lot about what happens down there, and then also it's just a great way, so when I engage with the community, I can accurately describe what we're doing. All right, starting with water conservation. The first sub-project was water conservation, and I used WaterSmart for that. In the winter times, I was alerting customers to large leaks, sometimes calling if there was a large one. Most people were very grateful when I called to reduce property damage, save money, and conserve water. And then I also used WaterSmart to process rebates for toilets, clothes washers, irrigation controllers, and leak repairs. This summer, my main focus was enforcing the designated watering days by notifying customers if they weren't watering on the correct days, or sending out educational notices, and then, if needed, warnings and fines. All right. A little more specifics. During the winter, I worked on a toilet rebate saturation study. During the study, I analyzed the reach of the rebates, how many rebates we gave out, toilets available on the market, and the impact of regulation on types of toilets in new homes. My recommendation to the staff was that it was time to sunset the program and move on to new efficiency rebates for our customers. This is due to the construction of new properties, the reach of our rebate, and the passing of 30 years of water-efficient toilets on the market. Pictured here is a lovely map that my co-fellow Taylor created for us with the data I gathered. All right, moving on. In addition to the toilet saturation study, I did a smaller analysis on the district's clothes washer rebate and calculated the water savings from the clothes washer rebate before it was sunset this year. This rebate has been in place since 2006, and if all of those clothes washers are still going, we're saving about 1,284,000 gallons of water every single year. There is a chance that clothes washers from 2006 aren't still working, but you can no longer purchase, it's much harder to purchase clothes washers that aren't energy efficient these days. All right, so lastly, I worked with Taylor and Sarah, our GIS analysts, to create a tool to view our turf buyback on a map. This rebate has been in place since 2007 and is very well loved by our community. This new map will be helpful in identifying areas in town with low participation for targeted outreach, helping identify gardens for garden tours, and more. Pictured here is the interface that Tahoe and Sarah helped with. Here you can view the map and see how many properties we've reached, and then also where you can add additional properties. All right, moving on to my second sub-project. This is Community Outreach and Education. I'll talk about my work with the South Tahoe Environmental Education Coalition and then community events. I'd be remiss not to mention Lake Tahoe TV editorials, some of them are coming out soon, and social media content creation. All right, starting with the South Tahoe Environmental Education Coalition, otherwise known as STEEC. STEEC provides place-based and experiential learning for K-12 students in Lake Tahoe Unified School District. We are able to meet with every single student K-12. This year we met with K-5 twice, and then we got to meet with the 5th graders a third time because every year they come to the wastewater treatment plant. For middle school and high school, we got to meet with each of them once. We'd love to meet with them more, but it's harder to schedule with middle schoolers and high schoolers. An additional educational event we attended this year was the LTCC Career Fair. This was very rewarding. We were able to meet students where they were and talk about the different career paths that you can find at STPD. Because as you know, there are so many different career paths offered here. Moving on to community events. I represented the district at various community events to keep our customers informed and engaged with water conservation efforts. I do remember running into a couple of you at these events. Pictured here are the events we attended this year and how many people we reached. It's really exciting to be able to say that I personally spoke with 2,131 community members. Our department did get to reach with more, but there were certain events that I wasn't leading, so our department was in attendance of. At these programs, we tailor our topics to fit the audience. Pictured here we're at Firefest, and we're talking about how we're replacing pipes to increase the capacity to fight fires. While tabling, we get to meet the community where they're at, be present for any questions they may have. Oftentimes this is water quality, irrigation practices, and sometimes questions about our recent rate increase. That is it for my summary, but I would like to end by saying I'm beyond grateful for this year. Not only was it an amazing learning experience to learn about water and sewer, of which I previously knew very little about, but also a year of personal and professional growth. Although I would love to say a second term, I will be pursuing a master's degree in geography at King's College in London, and that decision was made possible by working here. Being around so many smart individuals doing essential work for the community grounded me in the kind of work I want to do. So, thank you.
Can we ask you some questions?
Should we do it now or after? We can do it now.
I can wait. I forget my question now.
I'm ready.
So I'm curious, do you have a thesis for your geography degree?
I'll give the honest answer.
Do you have funding to do anything in particular? Or? Yes.
The geography degree is in sustainable cities, so I'm curious about focusing on water and how that looks in as we design new cities. If I've been very honest, the other idea in my head about my thesis has to do with sports and stadiums. But that's a personal passion of mine.
Okay.
So that's the honest answer.
And then just curious, what of these community events was your favorite?
Let's see. Oh, that's a good one. Which one was my favorite? Day in Paradise was really fun. That was a recent one. We had a duck in the competition, so that was also really fun. We did the water taste test. We do have a couple events, but people are having a grand time with that one at the Day in Paradise. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions?
I'll just say school is very important, but I hope you really enjoy London. I don't remember a lot of time in classes. My life now that I'm in my 40s, I'll just take it through. So just keep that in mind when you're out there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Just one more curiosity. How did you land here in the program? How did we get you?
Yeah.
South Lake Tahoe, I'm just curious.
The location of this job does a lot for you guys. South Lake Tahoe, I'm very excited. But no, I was really interested in water conservation. My background's in geography and economics, and I'm interested in natural resource management. So I came across this job description, and it felt like the perfect place for me. And then I saw it was in South Lake Tahoe, and it had to happen. Yeah. A little bit. Just a little.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Taya Ragsdale, and I'm the other Civic Spark Fellow here. I'm originally from San Luis Obispo, and I graduated from UC Davis last year with a degree in Environmental Science and Management and a concentration in GIS. In these past 11 months, I think I've learned a lot about the critical functions of utility districts and also how GIS really supports and uplifts those processes. In school, we also learn a lot about mapping techniques and how to use the actual software, but we don't really learn how GIS is used to support everyday operations. And I'm super excited to say I'll be staying here for another year. A little background on my project. I'm the Civic Spark Fellow for the engineering department, and although I don't have a degree in engineering or any background in engineering, my main role was supporting our GIS analyst, Sarah, and then as well as Jim, our asset management program analyst. I think this helped them a lot because they were able to focus on more critical priorities while I was able to take care of important support tasks that still needed to be done, but otherwise might have been overlooked or just fallen through the cracks due to time constraints and staff timing. As an overview of my project, I worked on editing the network to affect new construction. So you can see in the photos pictures of Herbert Lockup, and those pipes were installed in the ground in 2024, so it was great to get those into the map as soon as possible. I also worked on mapping assets and facilities, expanding our utility network. This includes meters, which I'll touch upon later. I worked on building out mobile maps for field use, down at DVR specifically, and I also worked on supporting and developing our district's energy consumption and analytical reporting. Getting a little bit more into the nitty-gritty, our GIS and asset inventory, I was able to map 9 months of water system leaks, and so every month our crews go out and, well actually on the daily, our crews go out and fix water leaks, and so every month I'm able to compile those water leaks and put them on a map so you can kind of see the spatial distribution of where the pipes are, which pipes are the most leaky, things like that. I was also able to add 852 new meters to the map. These are meters that were actually in the ground already but hadn't been mapped due to staff time constraints. And this is great because now our GIS is almost 100% up to date with our Tahoe system. This was kind of like a 5-year project that other Civic Spark Fellows had worked on, and it's great that it's finally getting wrapped up. Like I said, I worked on asphalt and deadlines as well. And then regarding analysis, I helped out Mark mapping our typical well radius of influence, so kind of figuring out how our groundwater interacts. I also worked on an energy usage by facility analysis where we kind of tracked over time up to 2025, so we're up to date the energy that we're using by facility in kilowatt hours. And then lastly, we spent a lot of time on this gravity sewer main condition assessment. We got data from our AI company Baseform, and with that data kind of able to predict some of where our most leaky pipes are that we would be concerned with.
Leaky sewer pipe.
So keeping this in mind, I created some projects where our crews can go and CCTV, and we can actually see what the condition of those pipes are looking like. And then my other big project was helping support out at Diamond Valley Ranch. I was able to help our reuse crews write 4 standard operating procedures with like daily procedures or even yearly procedures that get done down there, and I think that will really help with staff knowledge loss and making sure those procedures are getting done in like a safe, efficient manner. That includes things like opening the diamond ditch and our freshwater release. And then, in addition, I was also able to work on some field work and field mapping. I was able to take the GPS out there and go and take some points of things that we didn't have on the map. And then I was able to use an as-built as well to kind of build out our C hydro line. And yeah, edit points around there. And then lastly, I just wanted to say thank you so much. This has been such a great opportunity. Thank you, Jim and Sarah, for all the support, and Lauren and Ella as well. I couldn't have done it without you. And yeah, super excited to be here for another year. Super excited to keep moving things forward.
Thank you. Very good presentation. Very curious how our neighborhood landed on that presentation, but I just hope you understand and appreciate the meaning of GIS, guaranteed income stream. So good work. Looks like you had some, obviously I think Jim's probably a really good mentor to have with you. So really good job. It's really cool to see your work, and glad to know that you're staying another year, because we're going to need you next year. For sure.
Really great job.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know. Shane, you're
Want to switch? You want to be tough, like I take it, that's all.
I know, right?
Great work.
Thank you. Good luck. Okay, so I think, Chris, you're up next, huh? American with Disabilities Act Compliance Update?
Good afternoon, Chris Gay, IT Manager. I just wanted to welcome everybody to the ADA compliance training. You should be able to get to work in 3 hours. Just kidding. No, I'm kidding. It should be 7 minutes or under. I want to start off the presentation by saying the district does a very good job of publishing content to its website. As the department that had the sole means to upload that content pre-2004, we saw every piece of documentation that the district uploaded to the web for the public to consume. In 2004, the district actually migrated from a web hosting platform that was very arduous and took a lot of IT skill to manage, to a content management system through Streamline, which is a CSDA partner. And since then, we've actually been able to outsource, I call it outsource, but allow Shelly and Ryan and other staff members to upload content to the website themselves, not having to go through IT to get that out online. So, another thing that happened in 2004, the Department of Justice issued a new ruling in Title II from the Americans with Disabilities Act that required content published to government websites to be ADA compatible. So meaning it needed to be able to be read by screen readers and other assistive devices for people with disabilities. As IT kind of dug into this requirement now and looking at how much content we had on our website, we found in April of 2025, after this was published, we have about 36,700 pages of documentation on our website. As we look for solutions to bring us into compliance with the new regulation, we started getting quotes from professional remediators. Streamline offered a service. They came in at about $7 a page. We also reached out to a couple other solution providers. They came in at about $10 per page. So you can see the cost there just to bring us into compliance. That doesn't count the ongoing skill uplift, right? The additional training needed to now produce all of this content in ADA compliant format. A project team is formed, and it includes stakeholders from every department that publishes to the website regularly.
we found that, okay, do you really need to have all of this information on there, especially historical information? Can we just archive that stuff off, and then if it's requested, we can bring it back and either put it back on the website or deliver it to whoever's requesting it. So we were able to, between a couple of project meetings, reduce the amount of published page count down to that 13,600 pages, but it's still a significant cost. It's around $100,000 just to get us into compliance with that new ADA regulation. We also looked at doing an in-house, right, making every person who publishes content ADA professionals, compliance professionals, and buying them software to help them format these documents in ADA compliant format. If you get well skilled in that task, it's about $5 or 5 minutes per page. So if you look back at our 36,700 pages, that's a year and a half of just full-time effort to get us into compliance with our ADA regulation. With the reduced count, it's about a half a year full-time effort. We all wear multiple hats here, so we couldn't do the full-time effort. We also looked at, skip ahead a little bit, sorry about that. We also looked at removing all of the content that's not required by law to have on the website, which has other ramifications, right? The district prides itself on getting its transparency award every year. If we removed all of that content from the website, it'd be more difficult to get that transparency certificate annually. We also looked at an agenda management solution. Those are very costly. It involves changing all of our processes that we currently have and ongoing costs of maintaining those software contracts. So we were actually contacted by Streamline, so we've got a product we think you're interested in because we reached out to them asking about their remediation services. And they, because they're a customer and a CSDA member, they said, hey, we're putting out this new product. We think you guys are a good fit to try it out. And so what it does is it actually uses things like AI, Google Translate, different services like IRA, which is a 24/7 live person that somebody can call or get called by, and they can read their agenda or document they're trying to access on the website for the person. Over the phone. So these are all the benefits that we got by choosing Streamline and the doc access solution. You can see there it went from, $250,000 to remediate to just $6,700 a year. And we turned it on and it remediated all of the documents within minutes. It scanned the entire website for us. So it formatted all the documents, it puts it all in the ADA compliance or compatible with screen readers, and we didn't have to change any of our existing processes or add any training to be able to make this to work. So some key achievements there, I outlined a few already, but the transparency award, again, that was a big consideration with our project. We were able to retain that, so we were able to continue to post all of the documentation, all of the information to the website as we currently do, and go after that award every year. So this project also had some public impacts, right? We were able to get all of that information posted in an ADA accessible format, operational efficiency, we didn't have to add any training. And then the proactive approach, right? We saw this deadline looming because of our population. We had a 2027 deadline that we had to be compliant by. Larger cities are actually April of next year, and they're still struggling to find a way to come into compliance. So we were able to meet this head on, and because we partnered with Streamline, we were able to utilize a best-in-breed solution, a very innovative partner to come up with a solution that uses, technology that is, often played with like AI, but then is able to increase our operational efficiency here, so the district a lot of money, a lot of money. So that's it. If there's any questions.
No, I think that's great. I mean, it looks like some serious time was put into figuring out the solution, and that was a big push of that CASA thing was AI is not just ChatGPT. And everyone's like, that's the go-to. But
there's a lot of levers we can use, and I'm glad to see that we're trying to be on the forefront, even if it's, from the IT side, but we can also do it from the operational side, so it's good to see.
Is there any, do we validate kind of the pages that they reproduce or retranslate, or is there any way to kind of confirm that what they're doing is actually converting it to ADA compliant?
Yeah, there is. They work with ADA vendors and screen reader vendors and stuff to confirm their technology is working. And then they've also brought in people that use those items and have them use the product, and they've found that it's been really successful.
Yeah, a great solution. The 200K was crushing. $6,700 not so crushing. So
yeah, I noticed this. Did you guys just make that live? Because I noticed that when I went to read the agenda the other day. Yeah, we went live after the project closed out. And sorry, this is a PDF. It's usually so as the public interacts with our website, this is the new PDF viewer that is the doc access solution. This is as I was saying on the slide, there's kind of an AI agent here. There's where they can ask for specific information about whatever document they're viewing. It automatically creates the outline for you, where you can click on any one of these items here, and it takes you to that item in the agenda. You can find it on the screen here. That's the live demo for you, I guess. Oh, I think I need to be an accessible view.
Streamline's probably gonna add a lot of customers to the portfolio.
I think so, yeah. I was actually just at a NESAC meeting last week, and there was one of the presenters there.
How big is Streamline and how?
So Streamline, we got everything to them through CSDA, and they pride themselves on focusing on California special districts. And so they build their content management solution and their websites to meet all of the California requirements for special districts. I think with this solution, we're going to be able to kind of broaden that outreach a little bit to cities and counties. But yeah, they're pretty large.
They've grown substantially because it wasn't that long ago that they were a small, I think I would just call them a mom and pop operation, even though there's no mom or pop. But they were very small and just starting out, but got affiliated with CSDA and got their foot in the door, and they just knew how to do the right thing, and so yeah, they've grown and they've become the preferred provider for CSDA.
Yeah, this is the IRA assistant. So if they're screen readers for some reason not able to interact with the content produced, they can get a call from IRA, and somebody can read them over the phone the content that they're looking for, and then translate. By Google Translate, you're able to pick any language that Google Translate offers and translate our documents in any one of those languages.
It's going to take away a few people's jobs.
Curious what the regulation is, or any funding that came along with this, or?
No, no funding. Yeah, in fact, the federal regulation is kind of nationwide, and then California, in this past legislative cycle, we actually saw California ratchet that down even further, making it compliance more and more of a higher standard. So, right. I don't think that legislation passed or started out somewhere, but you can assume it'll happen further down the road. So, I think partnering with Streamline was a very smart decision in 2024 to meet all of our requirements then, but it also is proven now to meet all of our requirements as new regulations and legislation affect us.
I mean, this is the kind of information we talk about where we saving our repairs funding and things like that. So this is, a great example that we can highlight, I think, down the road.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
So I think we're doing one thing I have to say, I'm not going to be at the next board meeting. So if that's never good enough, it's on the calendar, so, yeah.
How will we let up you? Are you going to do it? All right, moving on to item 10, General Manager Report. Paul.
I'm going to save my comments for closed session today.
Okay. Item 11, notice of past and future meetings. It's in the agenda, and we are going to close this meeting.
Yeah, it was good event to do.
We had a closed session. Nothing to report. Opening up open session. Moving on to item 13A. Rose?
All right, so as you all know, the board recently met with Tahoe, the general manager, to conduct the annual performance evaluation. The contract for the general manager provides eligibility for a merit increase for the next step in the salary range on an annual basis, as approved by the board of directors and based on satisfactory performance. The next step in the salary range is step B of the management salary schedule, which is, so the requested board action is to approve the general manager's salary at step E, which is $25,720.59 per month for the 2025-2026 contract year effective August 14th, 2025.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that. Okay, then a motion. And that motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.